Hey everyone, and welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're unpacking an absolutely fascinating text. It's a manifesto that lays out a radical, highly structured blueprint for the future of humanity. We're going to explore a vision that details the creation of a completely new kind of society from the ground up. It's a journey filled with grand cosmological ideas, extremely strict community guidelines, and, honestly, a few massive surprises along the way. So whether you're into sociology, utopian literature, or just alternative community structures, this is a truly phenomenal source to dig into.
Now, right out of the gate, the text sets a pretty stark stage. It states, "For thousands of years, the pages of humanity's history have been filled with suffering and hardship, absurdity and ridiculousness, tragedy and sorrow, cries and howls." The fundamental idea here is that human history is just deeply, inherently broken. It's a really bold claim, framing everything we've built so far as a tragedy that desperately needs to be fixed.
Okay, let's dive into this. If history is essentially just a giant catalog of sorrow, the obvious question the text poses is, who will rewrite this history? And the proposed answer isn't a new government or some new piece of technology or even a widespread political movement. Instead, it's a very specific, highly dedicated group of people who aim to completely rewrite the human narrative.
To understand who these people are, we enter Section 1, the Divine Mission, subtitled Architects of a New Era. Before we get too deep, let's quickly clarify two foundational terms you absolutely need to know to grasp this blueprint. First up is Life Chen-yun. Think of this as the overarching movement itself. The text describes it as a sacred constellation that has emerged in human history. Second, we have the Chen-yun Celestials. These are the individual members making up the movement. They're elevated to a deeply spiritual level, viewed literally as children of the greatest creator of the universe, acting as celestial beings right here on Earth.
So, what is their actual mission? Well, they view themselves as vital assistants to Earth's managers, tasked with restoring the planet's original purity. They want to ensure favorable weather and total harmony among all living things. But ultimately, their most ambitious endgame is to prevent the tragic disappearance of civilization and extend humanity's existence for another 1,000 years. They literally see themselves as the crucial fermenting agents that will lead humanity into this era of great harmony.
Which leads us perfectly into Section 2, a radical new lifestyle. And the subtitle here really says it all, the absence of tradition.
$0, zero property. According to the text, a Chen-yun Celestial owns absolutely no private wealth, not a single penny. Their mandate is to give and contribute every single day without ever calculating personal gains or losses. In terms of material resources, they live with absolutely nothing of their own. It's meant to be a completely unselfish existence. Now, what's really interesting about this is how much it requires a total rejection of modern society. Humanity has obviously relied on traditional concepts for millennia, right? Marriage, family units, private property, national borders. Well, the Chen-yun model completely erases them. No marriage, no family, no property, no nations. It is a complete, ground-up, systemic overhaul of how human beings organize themselves.
Just take a second and actually imagine your daily life without any of these structural pillars. No political parties, no organized religions, no individual family units. While most people today might view that as a terrifying loss of identity or security, this text presents this total absence of tradition as the ultimate freedom. The core psychological argument here is that by shedding the heavy inherited baggage of modern institutions, humanity can finally eliminate the root causes of all our interpersonal conflict and suffering.
And this complete stripping away of traditional structures, that's what the author defines as the creation of humanity's second home. They aren't seeking deprivation here. By removing these historical institutions, they claim they are unlocking a terrestrial paradise, a brand new living scenario where true freedom replaces all that historical sorrow we talked about earlier.
Of course, creating a utopian society from scratch is never without severe friction. That brings us to Section 3, Overcoming Adversity, Resilience in the Face of Destruction.
There's a really dramatic history outlined in the text here. The group supposedly built 12 poetic paradise-like homes using their blood, sweat, and tears. Yet it claims these communities were entirely destroyed by forces it describes as demons. The focus here isn't on the mundane worldly politics or legal realities of why they were destroyed, but rather on a sweeping, spiritual narrative. It's framed as pure good facing overwhelming, almost mythical adversity. But despite the complete destruction of those 12 homes, their tone remains absolutely defiant.
The text insists they are still humming the melodies of creation, walking romantically and optimistically along the winding paths toward the spiritual mountain. The group is framed as completely fearless. The major takeaway here is that by possessing a crystal-clear understanding of their cosmic future, they become totally immune to any kind of worldly despair.
And that unwavering optimism fuels some serious physical labor, bringing us to Section 4, creating a terrestrial paradise from barren land to abundance.
Their claimed timeline is, honestly, remarkably aggressive. Within just one single year, they claim the ability to transform completely barren land into a flourishing environment capable of supporting hundreds of people. The text notes they've been sowing these seeds of truth, kindness, and love for over 20 cycles, so 2 decades, completely out in the open, in the sunlight. And all of this intense short-term labor is explicitly directed toward that ultimate goal we mentioned, extending humanity for another 1,000 years.
And their process? It's surprisingly practical for such a deeply spiritual group. Step 1, arrive at the barren land. Step 2, immediately create large, clean, and highly orderly spaces. Step 3, establish a flourishing environment for hundreds within a single year. They aren't just spiritual philosophers lost in thought. They present themselves as literal, hands-on creators of material abundance.
And this brilliantly illustrates the duality of their movement. On one hand, they're trying to reach this mystical spiritual mountain, right? But on the other hand, they are meticulously planning very essential earthly infrastructure, clean kitchens, bathrooms, and yes, even toilets. They pair this extreme grounded practicality with living and leisure spaces, entertainment halls, large bedrooms, restaurants. The text describes these highly functional, orderly physical communities as brimming with vitality, surrounded by birdsong and floral fragrance. It's very much a physical paradise.
All right, now prepare yourselves for a massive twist. We're moving to Section 5, AI and Eternity, the surprising future vision. So, right near the very end of this blueprint is a stunning declaration. The Chinyan Celestials will integrate with artificial intelligence. Just think about that for a second. To create an unparalleled, beautiful future for humanity, this exact same group, the one that relies on farming, barren land, and singing melodies of creation, plans to merge with AI. It seamlessly bridges ancient spiritual concepts of celestial beings with cutting-edge, futuristic technological integration. So wild pivot.
By living this extreme lifestyle, putting in the physical labor, and ultimately integrating with AI, the text promises some very specific ultimate destinations. Followers are working toward ascending to the heavenly spaces of the future. The text names them as the 1,000-year world, the 10,000-year world, and finally, the Elysium Celestial Islands continent. It wraps up their entire cosmological and utopian goal into this very distinct eternal roadmap.
Which leaves us with a pretty profound concept to chew on. This blueprint challenges literally everything about how modern society operates, replacing it with a radically communal, spiritually driven, and eventually technologically integrated vision. So, I leave you with this. Could a society without private property, without family units, without borders, and ultimately guided by an integration with AI, truly be humanity's second home? It's a fascinating framework to analyze and one that absolutely forces us to question the very foundations of how we live today. Keep questioning, keep exploring, and I'll see you in the next explainer.